Hi, Homeworthy. I'm Nate Ward, owner of Nate Ward Design Associates. Welcome to my home in Houston, Texas.
You're watching Homeworthy, where we believe every home has a story.
Hi, I'm Nate Ward. I am the owner of Nate Ward Design Associates. I'm an interior designer, and welcome to my home. So the backstory on how we found the home, we kind of were searching anywhere close to the city. We wanted to be relatively close, close for things I do for work, close to friends. And so we looked within kind of like a 5-mile loop around the city. One of my friends who works in real estate as well, she suggested we check out this area. There's a ton of new construction here. So the house is new. And so we actually initially started by touring a house across the street that I found online. And that one was a no-go, but the realtor was like, well, we have one, it's in the framing stages. It's literally across the street if you guys want to go take a look. So it was obviously just sticks at that time, so it wasn't much to see yet. I could kind of see the full vision, right? So whenever we walked in, I saw like the giant windows behind us and like the sliders. And I could tell it was gonna be very bright because I love natural light. I love when my spaces are flooded with light. And it gets really beautiful morning light too. So I like to like sit in here and meditate in the mornings, and this is like perfect for that. So even though it was just like sticks at the time, I could kind of see the overall vision, which my fiance didn't have that vision, but I convinced him that it was worth taking a chance on it. And so we decided to put it under contract, and we waited for it to be finished constructed, and here we are. We've been here for like 9 or 10 months now, so it's fairly new. The overall style and like my design perspective on the home is purely based on like how I want to feel in the home. So I wasn't trying to achieve a specific aesthetic. And if you look through my home, you can see it's a little weird, like there's some weird objects here and there. Some things are like, okay, that's kind of out of place, but somehow it still works. It's kind of like odd. So it's nice to have creative freedom in your own space because you don't really get that whenever you're designing for clients. They may have a very specific aesthetic they want to stay within, or their taste may be different. So for me, I really approached it with like complete creative freedom. I feel like my style is very fluid, so I may discover something new that I never thought I would have loved, but it has like an emotional impact on me. So I have to have it. So welcome to my living room. This space, of course, I wanted it to be really important that it was a very comfortable space. So the sofa is extremely deep. I actually got this from CB2. So this is like one of the big box stores that I typically go to. I love to go to CB2 for things here and there, but I wanted to make sure the sofa was large enough to fit me and my fiance for like movie nights and stuff like that, but also just a place for everyone to sit whenever we host parties. It's not a huge space, right? But I was like, what is the largest sofa or sectional I could squeeze in here? And this was literally the biggest I could fit here comfortably. And it's still a little bit of a squeeze, but I love that it's modular, so these pieces can kind of all move around. This ottoman, actually, we move over here and move the coffee table out of the way for movie night, and it just becomes like one big bed. So it's perfect for movie nights. We even had like 4 of my other friends in here for like cuddles and movies, so we're all just like pile into the couch, watch a movie. And then I love the ottoman on this side because it is additional seating, but there's no back, so it doesn't feel like it's blocking the view when the windows are open, so you can still see outside and it's not too heavy. So I love that. Right in front of me, this coffee table. So I love vintage stores, love thrifting. I love like antique stores, Facebook Marketplace, anything that I can like feel like I got an amazing deal, like that is like crack to me. That's like what gets me high. So this actually I found at a local like vintage shop. And there's actually a total of 3 tables. Another one of them is actually up in my guest room. But I want to say it's probably from like the 70s. And it's kind of like a Milo Bauman style coffee table. It's got a burlwood veneer. And I love the look of burlwood. It kind of gives some nice texture to this area. And something else I love is the scale. So it's huge. So if we ever like have friends over, they have places to put their drinks, snacks, whatever it may be. Another thing, it's like the perfect height for my seat. So like a tip that I love is making sure the height of your coffee table is the same height as the seat of your sofa. Because whenever you're like sitting here, you want to be able to like put your feet up and it's like easy to access things here. So this was a really cool find, got a great deal on it. Absolutely love that. This is a really fun little lamp. I would say it's probably like mid-century, maybe like the 70s, but it's got this cool lucite base and this kind of chrome detail on the top. And you can see there's like chrome details kind of throughout my entire house. So I kind of like to thread that through. I love things that look modern, and this kind of has like that modern aesthetic to it. And me and Danny, my fiance, we actually found this in Round Top. So this is one of our Round Top finds. If you don't know Round Top, it's like an amazing antique fair here in Texas. It's like one of the largest in the nation, but it's like endless antiquing and shopping. You could literally be there for like a week and not see everything. So this is one of the cool things we found there last time we were there. I love that piece. Next, we have, this is kind of like an iconic mid-century chair. You may see a lot of these, they may be overdone, but it's called the Wassley chair. I love it. Again, it's kind of like a low seat, so it kind of matches the seat height all the way around. Weirdly enough, growing up, I'm from rural Mississippi, and so middle of nowhere Mississippi, my grandparents had several of these as their patio furniture. And so I don't think they had any idea that they were like significant at all, but these are literally the patio furniture that I grew up playing on and building forts out of. So these are kind of like special to me. And I have another one upstairs in our bedroom as well. So the drapes. So in my living room, we have these two large windows. And so we do need something to help filter the light. The windows were something that me and my fiance loved about the space, but also when you're here watching TV, you want something that kind of filters the light. And it's two separate large windows, but I wanted to be able to look into the space and almost just feel like one giant window wall. So I wanted to do kind of monochromatic blue drapes that matched the blue walls as well. We basically did this really cool gray blue throughout the space, and we color drenched too. So what that means basically is when you're color drenching a space, you paint the walls, you paint all the trim, and you paint everything on the ceiling the same color. And it kind of creates this enveloping, cozy feel in the home. It's a nice soft backdrop to all like the deep colors throughout, the reds, the golds, all the pops throughout kind of look nice on this color. We can talk about this artwork. You're gonna see a recurring theme in art here. A lot of it was done by an artist named Nate Ward, so myself. So whenever Danny and I purchased the home not long ago, a lot of our money went towards the down payment. So there wasn't like this massive design budget. I had to be thrifty, right? So it's a little bit different when you're working with clients than in your own space. Sometimes the budget, you have to be creative. So this artwork, did myself. A lot of the artwork you see, I did myself. It's very abstract and just kind of nice pops of color here and there, very simple. So it's not too hard to do. I think really anybody can do it. But just keep it simple, abstract artwork, so that way there's just kind of these cool pops throughout the space that kind of guide you throughout the room. My fiance really wanted to have this massive kind of like TV. So I'm not like a huge TV person, but I do appreciate it now that we have it. But I wanted something below it that matched the scale, so it felt like big enough to be proportional. And this is really just like an IKEA hack. So a lot of people I've seen doing this, but these are just white IKEA cabinets, right? And you're able to kind of stack as many as you need to make it as long as you want. So trying to find like, you know, a 10-foot plus credenza stock like already made can be very expensive or just very difficult to find. So we floated these cabinets on the wall, and then I had my carpenter come through and wrap it in this kind of like deep mahogany wood. And the deep mahogany picks up on all the red accents throughout the rest of the house, so it kind of blends nicely. It didn't cost an arm and a leg. It's the perfect scale for this as well, so I love it. And it's great storage. So like all the like little electronic components are in here. We have like blankets packed in here. We have extra pillows. We have coasters. We even have like a record player in here. So literally everything is hidden away behind these cabinets, which I love. This is probably, I have a lot of lamps, right? I love lamps, love chairs, but This is one of my favorite pieces. This is actually a vintage Murano glass lamp. So I would say it's probably from the 1960s. This is actually from my friend's shop. His name is Dustin, but he owns the Cargill Collective. And so he sources all these really cool different pieces. And this is one of the lamps that I found there. And it's beautiful. I love the glow. Whenever you have like lighting, the tip really is you want to have multiple levels of lighting, right? It can't just all be overhead. So having kind of like lighting here, kind of on medium height surfaces or lower surfaces as well, this kind of helps really create a nice ambiance throughout. I love this chair. So the first time I saw a chair like this, I was actually at the Paris flea market, which is not technically in Paris, but it's called the Paris flea market. And it was the first time I had been. And I saw this chair and I did a little research. I was like, this is just such a random, cool chair. And it comes in all these different colors. But it's called the Bold chair, and it's kind of like a postmodern chair. It's actually way more comfortable than you would think. It's kind of random the way it looks like sculpture, but it's still supportive. It's made with this nice like soft material. A lot of times when I'm like looking, just thrifting or antiquing, I love looking for like sculptural chairs because you can use them just to throw into the space. Like this one specifically is so unique. It's just this really vibrant red, and then around it, everything is very muted. So it kind of just adds that like weird curiosity moment of like, huh, it's out of place, but it just kind of works. I love that. And then if you just like, or if you're like me and just like collecting chairs, you can literally just buy chairs. You can put them in the corner, put stacks of books on them. If you find chairs that have like really cool high backs, those are cool like sculptural moments as well. So they just kind of give you like, it's like adding art to your home. So it doesn't have to be just a chair. It could be like a fun moment as well. Behind the chair, we kind of have a nice table area, lamp. Again, tabletops everywhere that I could squeeze them in because you always need places to put your drinks. And then this lamp is another CB2 find. It's another chrome element. So there's pops of chrome throughout the house, nice and tall. So I kind of like the height it adds to this side of the sofa as well. And it's just more ambiance lighting, which you want, again, multiple layers of lighting throughout the space. This is very unique, actually. So this, I actually just had this repainted along with the rest of the space here. But when I ordered it, it came in black, and it's very industrial, which I love, the kind of look of it. This is one of those things that like, I don't think a client would ever let me put in their house. So I had to do it for my own. I saw it and I loved it. I love the scale here. So it's quite large. It helps bring the eye up, and I had it painted in this deep kind of like brick rust red. That way it pops really nicely off the blue. So it's very complementary to the blue colors as well. And it's just another one of those like weird moments that just works. So that's kind of what I want everyone as they come through to see the house and just be like, this is so different, but it just works. On the coffee table too, like, of course I love to just like have little collections of pottery, anything like that. Like if you're ever antiquing or thrifting, like if you can find similar looking items, like little pots, handmade items, I love that. But these little clay pieces we made, so me and my fiance made these. Never thrown clay before, but it was kind of like our little date night. So we made these 4 pieces, and they're special to me. So I like to put them out on display on the coffee table. And then this guy here was another round top find. I just love it because it looks like it's from Beetlejuice. So to me, it looks like the little sandworms from Beetlejuice, but it's just like a little sculpture. It could be used as a vase. Like I've put twigs in here before, put it over there on the console to kind of like add height, or just like here almost as a sculpture. And it's a great memory too. We had a great trip to Round Top, so I love this piece. That wrapped up the living room. I kind of want to show you guys the dining room next, so we can kind of take a peek in here. So this is one of my favorite Facebook Marketplace finds. So you can find some pretty cool stuff on there because sometimes people have amazing things and they just really want to get rid of it. And so you can make a little offer, and sometimes you get great deals on things that are really priceless. So this is basically it's a red marble table, which I love the color of it because it plays very nicely with the other red tones in the rest of the room. And this is like one of those things I found early on before we even moved into the house. I was like scrolling through Facebook Marketplace and I saw this. It was like 280 bucks, like so cheap. And I was like, we have to have this. So I convinced my fiance Danny to help me pick this up, load it into the back of our car, and like part of it was literally hanging out the back, and we drove it down. But yeah, it's like probably like my most prized Facebook Marketplace find. I love how like modern it is. It's very postmodern. The base is very simple, and then I use these kind of cool chairs around it. Again, very postmodern chairs in tubular steel. Um, all these chairs actually on both sides and the end chairs, all Facebook Marketplace finds. So you can really find a lot of fun stuff on there, cool stuff. This sculptural art kind of in the middle of the table is one of my favorite pieces. It's by an artist called Paola Peronetto. And she's basically an Italian artist, but my friend Ruth, she has a store here in Houston. It's called Found for the Home. So she actually carries these in store. And they're amazing kind of sculptural pieces. You can use them as vases. So some of them are actually vases. This one is more of just like a sculptural object. And they come in all these amazing textures. This entire home, I've replaced pretty much all the lighting that I could. It was a very builder grade home, right? Whenever we moved in. So that's an easy fix. Like if you move into a home, very builder grade, there's a lot of new construction here in Houston. So a lot of my clients deal with this. You can swap out the lights and it's like immediate impact. So that I did pretty much as soon as we got here. I replaced it with this cool kind of like saucer. It's in the chrome, kind of polished chrome to pick up on the chrome accents throughout the house. Very modern, very sleek. I didn't want anything too overwhelming here because my space is very open. So the dining room is open to the living room. And in the living room, we have our huge red spider light. So I wanted this one to be a little less of a statement. And so it just kind of perfectly acts as the spotlight over the sculptures, which I love. And then if we move over to my left, so over here, we have another really cool find. So again, found this at an antique store here in Houston. A lot of my stuff is more like modern, postmodern. A lot of it has kind of 80s vibes, and I don't do that on purpose. I just tend to like gravitate towards that. But this actually is kind of a juxtaposition to that. It's more of like an Art Deco style console table. And it is in the burl wood, which I love because it picks up on the burl wood in the living room. So it kind of visually connects the two spaces. And then on the top, I kind of just styled it with like different things I found. So all of this glassware is found from this really cool local thrift shop called the Guild Shop. And so if you're ever in Houston, it's kind of like a fun little treasure hunt. So if you're in Houston, you can pop in and they have just like shelves of things. But be ready to kind of like search because you're gonna have to sift through a lot of things. But I found some really amazing vases, all kinds of like artwork, little knickknacks really. So great for that. Love this. I have actually more of Paola's work. So a little sphere here. So this one again has like that deep purple and it kind of picks up on the rest of the purple tones throughout the house. But yeah, I like that, just place that there in a layering moment. This is technically like our entry console. So I like to have like obviously storage. If you have like an entryway, you want to have a place to put keys, sunglasses, anything you just want to throw down. And then I used this little vintage tray I got from the Guild Shop as well for our sunglasses. So you can kind of like pick whatever sunglasses go with your outfit that day. This mirror is an Amazon mirror. So I was debating on whether I wanted to do like a wall of antiqued glass or mirror tile, but I went with the more economical route and the faster route, which is just, I found this huge mirror on Amazon basically. And the ceilings are pretty tall. It's like a 10-foot ceiling here, which I love. But I wanted something that was tall, that added visual height, so it actually brought your eye up, and reflective. So it made the space feel bigger. And it's not a huge space. So the more mirrors you can add to a space, the bigger it's gonna feel. So if you have a tight space, try to do like a huge wall mirror. Or I'll show you in my kitchen next, we did like a mirrored backsplash, so I'll show you that. But this I love, so this almost acts as just a backdrop. And then I wanted to layer these pieces of art on top of it. These actually are just like charcoal sketches. I'm not sure, it looks like somewhere in Italy. Not sure where it's based, but I love the sketches. I actually painted these frames and the mats to kind of go with the aesthetic of the room as well. But this kind of gives you a nice kind of like triangle. So when you're styling, you kind of have this nice center point and then everything else kind of flows down around it. So it's kind of like a high and then low. So your eye can flow throughout the space very nicely. On both sides of like my little console area, we have these two windows. And I debated putting like very neutral shades here. It actually came with like the builder grade kind of like roller shades, which were like in this bright white. So not necessarily the style I was going for. So I went with the red because it kind of adds a nice pop of color in this space. It's one big wall, so it's nice to kind of have like a pop here and there. And the Roman shade is just like a classic shade style. So if you don't want to do like the mini blinds or the faux wood blinds, a Roman shade to me is like timeless. It'll never go out of style, never go wrong with this. So let's take a look into the kitchen next. So we can segue that way now. The story of my career is interesting. I did take a major pivot. So I've always loved design. I grew up obsessively watching HGTV like back in the 90s, right? So like most kids were watching cartoons. I was watching like House Hunters, or I was watching like the Candace Olsen show, which some people probably don't even know what that is. But I grew up obsessed with design. I was even like helping my parents design their homes. I was redecorating my room over and over. So I was kind of like the go-to, even as a kid, for my mom when we were like repainting the house or how we wanted to redo the kitchen. She literally would go to me at age like 14 to kind of get some advice. And so I've loved design. It's like art, like creative expression for me my entire life. And so I went to school for interior design and graduated. I got an amazing internship with a local architecture firm. Right around that time, it was like during the economic crash, I guess you could say, the recession of 2008. And so unfortunately, I could not find a job in interior design. And I needed a job fast because I needed money. So I pivoted into real estate. And so I started working for a multifamily developer. From there, I worked for a residential developer. And in that field, it will suck you in. So you get consumed with it, you start making money, and so you kind of dedicate your time to that. But what I found the last few years, even more than that, I found myself obsessing over design in my spare time. So all of my spare time, I was watching Homeworthy tours, I was like sourcing antiques, thrifting on my days off. I was like, this is what makes me happy, and it doesn't feel like work. And so eventually I got to the point through, and with the help of my fiance, he was very encouraging, but I got to the point to where I was like, you know what? I can transition now and I can do something that I love and it doesn't feel like work. And that was very recent. That was not very long ago. I literally just started my LLC for my company this year. So all of this is very fresh, but that's kind of how I got back to design and back to what I love doing. This actually, very random, I know, but I really love it. So one, we have the ice cream cone, which why would somebody have an ice cream cone in their house? I don't know, it doesn't matter. It's fun, I love it. But this actually we found on our first trip to Round Top. So the first time we went to Round Top, it actually was part of like an ice cream shop. And I think it went like on the outside as part of the sign. And it's very light, it's actually paper mache. But very cool piece. I saw it and I was like, that's just so random and I want it. So we got it. And so I literally was like carrying around an ice cream cone like for a whole day and people were commenting on it. You can find anything that just like makes you happy, makes you inspired, and use it as artwork throughout the house. But we placed it on this vintage pedestal. I'd say it's probably like a postmodern kind of like 80s pedestal travertine. Again, I found this from my friend Dustin at the Cargill Collective. So this is one of his other finds. He's great at sourcing all kinds of like antique stuff. And it kind of gives it a little more character than just like a plain column or a plain pedestal, which I love. And then behind it, this is again, self-made art. You can literally just smear putty on a piece of canvas, paint it white, call it a day. It's that easy. And it just acts as like a nice little backdrop to the ice cream cone. And then we put these little lights throughout, and it just kind of adds that more like designer touch, like really intentional thought through. And when the lights are all off, it's like it highlights your favorite things, which I love. And then the backsplash, again, it was a builder grade home. So it came with those like very typical subway tiles, which nothing against subway tile, but I wanted something a little more unique. So we added this full mirror, and the mirror actually is great because it actually looks like the space just keeps going when you look into it. So visually, it makes the space look much larger, which I love. And then if we head over to this side of the kitchen, we have our bar, which we don't drink much, but it's here for friends if they have it, if they are wanting to drink. But throughout, we have kind of nice little found objects. Again, another piece by Paolo Peronetto. Love this piece. I love the tone on tone. So the walls have this kind of blue-gray, and then this is like a more saturated blue. So I love that look. And then all of the floating shelves are also color drenched in the blue. So it kind of all just blends in and everything looks like it's floating. Something very important to me or special are these little glasses. So they just look like little glasses, but these are actually the Baccarat glasses that I got from my first interior design award. So interior design is actually pretty new for me as far as a career. As you know, I've loved it my entire life, but I just transitioned into design. And I randomly submitted this home actually to Paper City Magazine for their design awards, and I won. So I think it was like best residential design under 3,500 square feet. And this was like the trophy, right? The little gift that they gave you. So it was really amazing to kind of start my career that way. It was kind of shocking, but also very validating at the same time. So those are special to me. Here on the island, I mean, one of the main things we loved about this home when we looked at it is it has this massive kind of like peninsula island. But they have it wrapped in kind of this, it almost looks like concrete, but it's actually quartz, which I love. You usually see like in new homes, like that really high gloss white quartz, but this was like a nice honed look. It kind of is like a warm gray color, almost concrete. So I loved that, neutral enough to really go with anything. And I love how it wraps around and has this waterfall edge. And then the bar stools, I sourced these online again. They weren't very expensive, but I wanted to go with something white because I didn't want these to be like a statement. I just wanted them to kind of disappear against the white cabinetry and just add additional seating for when we have friends over, and it works perfectly for that. Then one more thing I want to show you, one of my favorite art pieces here actually. So here in the entry, there's this amazing artist. Her name is Adele Naidu, and she's actually an Australian-based artist. But if you look at it from straight on, it looks like just like a wavy piece of paper, like something flowing in the wind. So it has a lot of movement, which I like. But I saw this actually at my friend Stephanie's shop. She just opened her showroom here in Houston. It's called In Gold. And so she's Australian. So they have a lot of Australian-based artists, but they also have really amazing kind of like tessellated stone pieces. She's one of my friends, but also like very cool, amazing, unique artwork and furniture there. So. And I love the red. So you're gonna notice pops of red like literally everywhere. Now let's head upstairs and check out the primary bedroom. Welcome to my bedroom, everyone. So in here, right now it's very bright, right? So we kept all the walls white, but I am like leaning towards maybe going with like a deep moody color. Not sure yet, maybe paint the trim in like a deep red and the doors in a deep red, but to be determined. As of now, it's nice and bright, which I love. Very simple, black bed frame. I kind of like, it has this kind of like rolled detail on the headboard and on the fortboard, so it kind of like rolls over. And I just wanted something simple. Didn't want to make like a huge statement, kind of blends in. I do also love the rug in here, so I sourced this online as well. But very simple, again, nice and bright, but the curved edge, this just makes it like slightly more unique and just like cool. Again, wasn't very expensive, but I just liked that it was kind of different, not your typical rectangular rug. Again, I wanted to keep the space a little more simple. I feel like a lot of my house, I collect things. So here I wanted to be a little more minimal, but you can still see it's hard for me. But to the right, we have these really cool, very simple kind of like cube style stainless steel tables. These actually were made by an Etsy artist out of the Ukraine. So we have one here, one on the other side. Very simple, almost like a little pedestal. I didn't want to make like too much of a statement, simple and pared back. And then throughout the house, I literally just have like books stacked everywhere. I've literally read every single one of these books. I like look through these books for inspiration for projects I'm doing. So love books. Most important book is right on top, How to Start and Operate Your Own Design Firm. So wish me luck on that one, guys. I'm still reading it. And then these actually are just like, I think they're from Wayfair too. Very simple. They almost have like an 80s vibe to them, like 80s, early 90s. But again, polished chrome, very simple sconces, just to kind of like flank either side. And that allows me to keep this completely open so I can put books. I love to have like fresh cut flowers throughout the house. If you can do it, flowers just really brighten up the space. It adds something living, or you can just have living plants throughout, which I love. Above the bed. Again, this was by me. So in an effort to basically have large scale artwork on like a decent budget, I made a lot of the artwork here. So again, very simple. This doesn't take much. It's just 2 colors and some texture. It's that simple. It gives you a little bit of impact over the bed, and I love the way it turned out. If you move over here, so opposite the bed, we have this really cool, it's a USM hauler piece, but it's basically like a very low, almost like console. And we basically like put our socks and stuff in here, so extra storage outside of the closet. And I like that it's in this kind of like tan color. So again, it's muted, not a huge statement piece, but it goes nicely here. And it's a good length for this wall. And then above it, again, more artwork by me. These 3 frames, I found these at like a hotel liquidation warehouse. So I go there sometimes just to find like large framed canvases, and I'll just literally spackle over it for texture, paint over it. I think originally it had like a print of like flowers and butterflies, something not necessarily the aesthetic for this room. And so I kind of redid it in like a Rothko kind of inspired art. So this again, really inexpensive, easy way to add color to your room, and then also great height for the ceiling. And if we keep moving over, you'll notice throughout the house, there's a lot of crystals, a lot of rocks. There's a lot of bugs randomly enough. So like upstairs, I'll show you guys my guest room, but one of the guest rooms is filled with butterflies. And then I have like bugs in resin in another room. So there's a lot of bugs in nature, which I think probably goes back to like me growing up in rural Mississippi, like wandering the woods as a child. So all of that stuff, like the butterflies, the bugs, twigs, stones, all of that stuff just makes me feel very happy when I look at it. So you'll see a lot of that throughout. Here again, another Wassley chair. So kind of sentimental, but love this chair here. Did a full wall of drapes. So again, I didn't want to just put drapery around the window itself. I wanted to create like a large scale moment, and almost like the entire wall is like a window. I actually found this at a local plant shop, but I put it in this kind of tall vase and on a pedestal. So it's almost like, again, another piece of art. And I love the kind of like architectural look of how they all kind of like spread out. So I love it, and it keeps growing. At first it was like here, and now it's like going out this way. So I'm very curious to see like what shapes it's gonna turn into. So this guy, very random. One, I love the proportion of this. It's literally like a tiny, tiny moth on this massive wall, and I just love the randomness of that. So to give it its own moment, I even had like a plaque made, but it's basically, it's called the rosy maple moth. It's a little tiny like pink and yellow moth. And I sent a picture of this while me and my fiance were dating like long distance. And I was like, look how cute this little moth is. He knows like I just like butterflies and moths. So next thing you know, there was like a package being delivered with the moth in it. So it's one of the first gifts I think he gave me, but it's sentimental. I have it kind of here in the entry of the bedroom. And I love that it has almost this like museum plaque with it. So this is one of our 2 guest rooms. So Danny's family lives in Boston, and they like to come visit quite often. So we have kind of this setup. Here we have 2 twin beds. Our other one, we have a queen bed. So we kind of have as much beds as we can fit into the space. I kind of like how all the rooms basically have their own unique style, but you'll see like color stories thread throughout. So we have like the kind of like ochre, gold color, the deep reds, all of that's throughout. And then you may notice this is actually another part of the set that's downstairs for the coffee table. And so literally I needed a place to store it, and I put it up here, and I ended up liking how it looks. So I just kept it here, but it's another kind of mid-century burl wood table here. And then I've layered it. So you have like a lot of layers here, lots of tables. Again, a little bit of a hoarder, but this actually I found at a great vintage shop in between here in Austin, Texas. But it's kind of like a tulip style, like Ames mid-century style table with a marble top. Again, all these books I've collected over the years, read every single one of them. So I just like to have them stacked kind of aesthetically, but I also go back to them always for inspiration. And then the nice warm headboards to kind of warm up the white walls, and then 2 more of like the chrome polished sconces on either side. So it gives this space a very symmetrical look. And this piece I also found at the hotel warehouse, the liquidation warehouse. And it was like a really unique kind of like yellowy brown color. And so I actually just spray painted it myself white. And I like the scale of it. So it's quite large. So it creates a nice focal point for when you enter into the room. And of course, I always like to layer like florals throughout to kind of give it a layered look. Yeah, I think that wraps up this room. We can go check out the next guest room. Right, so this guest room I like to endearingly call our butterfly room because this is where I house the majority of my butterfly collection, I guess you could say. It's becoming a collection, I have a few, but I've been collecting kind of like vintage butterflies and reframing them over like the last 15 years or so. And then of course, my fiance knows I love butterflies, so I get gifts here and there and I like to add them to this wall. But yeah, it's kind of very symbolic of like metamorphosis and kind of becoming the person you want to be. So I love that. And then also just visually beautiful, like nature makes beautiful art and it's extremely symmetrical and colorful. So I love that. In this room almost kind of feels like the colors are kind of warm. Eventually I want to color drench this entire room in probably like a moody green color. So it's going to be more like tonal, so tone on tone. But the color story, I kind of want it to feel like you're in a forest. So you're surrounded by nature, butterflies. You have kind of like a deep ochre. You have this beautiful linen, kind of like olivey green color as well. And it just drapes over the sides of the bed and like puddles onto the floor. So I kind of love that effect. And then you have like nice, warm, rich wood tones throughout. And then you'll notice I just kind of put all of my little collected pieces throughout. So little knickknacks here and there. Random things I've found at like antique stores. A skull I've had for like 15 years. Little trinkets and like boxes to store things in. More sentimental thing like roses from family members, from all friends, all that stuff. Yeah, and then I like to use trays. So if you're like a collector like me, things can become a little disorganized and like cluttered. So if you use like trays to contain like similar looking items, like all of these are kind of like rectangles or boxes, that kind of creates a little more like visual cohesion. It doesn't feel so cluttered, which I like. More artwork by me. This I painted like a few years ago, but I hung it here. It has kind of like the deep ochre tones or the wheat of the drapes as well. So it kind of ties that together. And this actually is another chair. So I have like chairs just randomly everywhere. Like I said, to me, they're more like art and sculpture. They don't actually have to be sat in all the time. But this is called a Seska chair. And so this is kind of another iconic mid-century style chair. It's tubular steel. It has caned seat and backing. So it ties into the caning on the headboard as well. But yeah, I've had this chair probably for like 15 years as well. I got it secondhand. Just something I collected. I like to collect things like this. And then I have another little caned chair here. So again, just a chair sitting here. You can use it to stack books, a plant, but it has the more caning. Its material is kind of a little more natural, a little more rustic, but it has like the modern shape. So it kind of works with the space pretty well. And again, I found these at an antique store on the way to Austin. So we stopped in, made a little detour and did a little shopping and found these, got them at a great deal. I think it was like 15 bucks for this, something crazy cheap. So this is my office space. It's kind of like a makeshift office. It originally was our spin room. So you can see we tucked the spin bikes kind of in the back here. So this is where I get work done and also other work done. But this space, I mean, it was kind of necessary. This was really the only space in the home that I could find to do my work. When I started my interior design company, of course, I needed like some sort of workspace from home. And I actually sourced this table. I think it's Tobia Scarpa for Knoll, but really cool postmodern table. Again, it has like the tubular steel, polished chrome legs, very modern look. I found this again on Facebook Marketplace. Do not sleep on Facebook Marketplace. It was an interior designer and a stager, and she was actually moving out of Houston. So she had all these really cool mid-century pieces, postmodern pieces. And so I got this for a steal. And instead of going out and buying a desk when I needed like working desk space, I just used this. We had it in storage. So I popped it in. I love the width because I can literally have people sitting on all sides and we can all talk while we're working, which I love. And then behind here, we actually use these probably like 2 or 3 times a week, but these are our little Pelotons. Shout out to Peloton and Cody Rigsby, who's our favorite instructor, but we like to have these tucked back here. Love to use them if we just want to do like a quick morning workout. And then behind here, again, by an artist named Nate Ward, myself. So out of necessity, I painted this. It's essentially like a spray paint. It's almost like a Basquiat inspired vibe, but I wanted to add kind of something random here, graffiti art, and it has some of like the greens and the reds that pick up on all the other furniture pieces in here. And then above me, this is almost like a Noguchi style lamp. It's from Hay, I think, so you can buy these online. But this was like a little craft project for me. I just like painted it and did a tea stain over it, so it has this kind of random abstract pattern. And then, you know, everything looks better with the tassel, so I just put a tassel on it. What home means to me, I mean, it's a space where, one, you feel safe. I'm a Cancer, so I'm very much a homebody at heart, and I want to feel safe here. I want to feel calm. I want to feel like it's my cocoon. So when I go out into the world, I feel like ready and fresh to take on whatever comes my way. But I want my space to just envelop me and feel like I'm safe here. And I think it's a space where when I invite friends and family in, I want them to feel the same way, like they're at home here with me. And I think that's probably the most important thing for me, thinking about what home means. Thanks for stopping by, Homeworthy. I've got some work to get back to, so I gotta run. You guys have a good day.